you walk into the gym as a boy and you walk out as a man. Amateur boxing, you wasn't allowed to keep a beard.
Yeah.
And like I said, it didn't really make sense. Every other combat sport, you're allowed a beard. Professional boxing, you're allowed a beard. It's just in the amateurs you weren't. So we got the rule overturned, and the rest is history. Yeah, you know, my family had always been involved in boxing, but it was never a professional. Times were different back then. They had to earn a living, they had to work, they had to do other things, you know. And the opportunity was there. So for me not to take it would have been disrespectful. It's literally your whole life. You know, you'd wake up, you'd train, you'd come home, you'd rest, you'd eat right, and then you train again. But if I come back to the second round, I've never had a broken nose, and I come back, I remember sitting in the corner in the second round, and my energy was just like I felt tired all of a sudden. I mean, that was the fittest I've ever been, and I couldn't breathe through my nose. I do see myself fighting for titles, contesting for titles, and you know that excites me. Everybody, I just be myself, be normal, be cool, do my part in the morning, and just chill out, enjoy myself.
Yeah.
It's a journey. You have to enjoy the journey. Do you know what I mean?
So, my guest today is a professional super welterweight boxer from London. Following in the footsteps of his grandfather and father, he's a 5-time London amateur champion, and now he's in the professional ranks, signed with global management company MTK. Welcome, Inder Bassi.
How you doing, bro? You good?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, man. Surviving.
Surviving in this crazy world that we're living at the moment.
Tell me about
Um,
it.
what I like to do normally is just start off right at the beginning, taking it all the way back to your childhood. And
Yeah,
as I mentioned in that little introduction there, you are from a fighting family with
yeah,
your Baba being a boxer in the
yeah,
60s, was it?
yeah. 60, early 60s, yeah, 60,
And
70s,
then
yeah.
I think you've spoken about like your dad and your daya, your chacha
Yeah, yeah,
also
yeah,
going down the boxing route, and so like you're third generation boxer. So what was that
yeah,
like when you were
exactly.
growing up?
My whole life from when I was young was just, it wasn't necessarily boxing, it was sports in general.
Right.
Personally, I'm quite an athletic guy, quite a sporty guy. You know, I was always doing sports. I was always active. You know, but where my family have also been involved in sports. You know, for example, boxing. Growing up, I always saw the trophies. I always saw pictures. You know, so it was. I grew up around. It was normal to me. Whereas a lot of up in families, a lot of youngsters, it's not normal.
Hmm.
Sports is not normal, especially boxing. But
Yeah.
for me, it was like second nature.
What other sports were you into? Was there any sports that you went to before boxing, and then
Yeah,
maybe like at a certain age they were like,
yeah, yeah.
Charlie,
I
could you
used to
start
play
boxing now?
football. I was quite good at football. I played for the district, and I played for a local team. And then when I got to about 15, 16, I think it was, I just stopped football and I just concentrated fully solely on boxing because there's a lot of injuries in football.
Hmm.
Um, but originally, I actually started off as football from about 8 years old till about 16. Like I said, I was football every day, every weekend.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you didn't start boxing at 16 because that would be extremely late. So when did you start
No,
there?
so I would always go to the local gym, you know, even when I was about 9, 10, we had a gym at my house, we had a boxing bag, so I was always punching about my proper, like when I went to my proper amateur gym was about 11, I think, 10, 11,
Right.
10,
Okay.
11, 12, yeah, around that age, yeah.
And do you think, as you said before, do you think it is because like obviously you've seen all the trophies and
Yeah,
you've got
yeah,
the
so it was just
connections
like
back then?
a part of my childhood, you know, my brothers and that, we all went to the boxing gym, they stopped, but we all went through that phase, you know, learned how to box, learned self-defense.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I said, I carried it on and I took it one step further.
Is it something that you think like because your baba and your dad have seen the benefits of it, they sort of
Mm.
encourage you, whereas perhaps in other households, like you said, like sport
Yeah,
isn't a thing, then maybe they wouldn't see the
yeah.
benefits of
So
it.
yeah, no, of course. Like that's obviously why one of the main reasons why I was pushed into it because more than anything, it teaches you self-defense. If I wasn't, if I was, even if I wasn't, and I was useless at boxing, I wouldn't become a professional, and I wouldn't have a single fight in the amateurs. It would still teach me self-defense. It would still teach me discipline.
Hmm.
And like I say, you walk into the gym as a boy, and you walk out as a man. You know,
Hmm.
I would advise everybody to just learn self-defense, go to a local boxing gym, you make friends, you make good friends, you meet good people, you know, you learn discipline, and you never know, you could be good at it.
Hmm.
You won't know if you're good at it if you're sitting at home all day long, you know. From them years kids are playing places, you know, like we saw that kid getting bullied, you know, it's not the right thing, you know, it's unfortunate, but maybe if he had self-defense, maybe if he learned how to fight and he was taught how to fight, it could have been a different story, you know. I'm not saying it would have been, but you never know. So to learn self-defense, and like I said, you meet good people,
Yeah,
you meet friends, you make friends when you're young. It, listen, going to a gym and doing exercise is better than sitting in front of a PlayStation. Or nowadays, well, when we was younger, we didn't really have phone. They were
yeah,
just coming in, weren't they?
yeah.
So it's better than sitting on your phone or sitting on your PlayStation. Like you're going out and about, meeting new people.
100%. I think when you do any kind of physical activity, you probably would have seen the same in football as well. Like
Yeah,
all of you are training together. You all know the
that's
hard
right.
sort of thing that you're going through. So it's like this collective sort of brotherhood of like, right, we're
Exactly.
training. This is
And your
hard.
friends, you normally your friends are just from the same school, your class, not even school, they're just your classmates.
Yeah,
But here you had kids from different schools around the local borough, and you just make friends with them. So there's literally not a bad thing, not a single bad thing about going and joining your local sports club, whether it's boxing, football, wrestling, or badminton or tennis. There's not a single negative. It's good for your health, it's good for your mental health, and it's good to make friends. And in general, there's not a single bad thing that someone can say. You know what? If when I join a football club, this happened to me or that happened to me. Nothing happens. It's just
yeah.
laziness and a reluctancy on the parents to take their kids at that age.
Yeah, because sometimes like especially with like any sort of combat sport, it can be seen as dangerous on the outside.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
most of
it's
the time when you go, like you don't. It's not like on the first day you're gonna be chucked into
exactly
sparring.
this. People think this like boxing, like this Rocky film where like you're gonna walk into the gym and get your face smashed in and everything else, but it's far from it. The reality is far from it. Um, and like I said, you won't know until you actually do it.
Yeah, hundred
Not
percent.
every single boxer has a broken nose or a bent face or brain damage. That's a very rare case of professional boxers. You're just going to the gym, the local gym, just to stay fit, stay strong, stay healthy mentally and physically.
And
But
it's
yeah.
one of the hardest workouts. Like I've been
Oh
to
yeah, of course.
boxing gyms. I've been to like an MMA gym up here in like Newcastle, and
Yeah,
it's honestly I've been going like actively to the gym as in for like
yeah,
weight training and things like that,
yeah.
as you do like when you get to like
Yeah.
teenage years and all that. But when I went there,
Oh,
oh,
it's a
it
different
was
level, mate. It's a different level.
way different level. Yeah,
Different level. Hardest training. Like I said, in a way, going to the gym is considered an easy workout to a boxing workout. It's considered a walk in the park, really. You go there, you work at your own pace. When you're in a boxing gym, mate, that's when you've done a proper workout.
yeah, 100%. I was about to faint, man. The first time I went, I was like, I thought I was fit. I was like getting into CrossFit at the time. I started going to this gym,
Nah,
and I was,
boxing is
whoa, what is going on? I have to take a breather. I was like, yo, you just carry on, yeah. Just leave me to sit down here for a few minutes. You mentioned there a few seconds ago that there was a video that was circulating around with the young boy with
mm,
who got bullied at the school in Telford. And
yeah, yeah,
did you ever experience anything similar? Having come from like a similar sort of as if it was purely on like his religion, obviously
yeah.
you also have
Um,
PTSD and stuff as well.
Directly, no. I've never, fortunately, never directly faced any problems like he has, and he was getting beaten up. Um, I was always willing to fight, you know what I mean? So I'd never really been in that position, I never really got bullied, never really got my hair touched or pulled or done whatever happened to the young boy. But indirectly, maybe through boxing, there's always racism. It might not be to your face, your X, Y, and Z, or
Hmm.
someone pulling your hair, for example. But there's other ways you can be racist that are more subtle, but
Yeah,
they still exist. So yes and no. I haven't had it directly to my face as such.
but you felt some
I
sort
might
of
have had a
pressure.
couple of instances of growing up, or but I've had it indirectly as we've all had.
And as you were saying there, like self defense would be crucial for anybody at a young age,
Yeah,
and obviously for us, if we are still getting some sort of prejudice as Sikhs and things, it's probably even more vital
yeah,
to
definitely.
work at that age. I seen like obviously the response to that video was
Mm,
amazing in the sense of the unity of the community,
yeah.
which but it's still an unfortunate like thing to occur.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing to happen. Nobody deserves it. Nobody wants their younger brother or son or whatever to to experience that. But I think the video should also serve as an eye opener that is reality. You know,
Yeah,
as much as you can sugarcoat it, as much as we can blame him, we can blame her, but it's a normal part of growing up.
yeah,
He wasn't if it wasn't for his hair and he wasn't a Sikh, it doesn't mean that he wouldn't have necessarily got bullied. You know, anyone can get bullied.
hmm,
It's just an eye opener that okay, that was an extreme example of racist bullying. It was a bit added on top, but anyone can get bullied. There are
yeah,
probably kids out there there are like kids who are not Sikh get bullied. That doesn't mean to say only Sikhs get bullied,
yeah,
but it should serve as an eye opener. That's reality. That's the what growing up. We've all seen it. We might have been bullied. We might have seen someone who's got bullied. Our friend might have got bullied. Our sister, our brother might have got bullied. It's just an eye opener of what reality is, and that we live in times where life's easy for us. Like I said, everybody gets a new phone, new pair of trainers, new PlayStation, new this, new that. But reality still exists where bullying is still a and as sad as this might sound, it's a normal part of growing up for everybody.
yeah,
It's a harsh truth that you have to understand. You can sugarcoat and say it shouldn't happen, this, that, it's not fair, it's not right, but it's not always. It's part of growing up. We've
hmm,
all experienced it. It's part of growing up, and there's sort of one solution. Well, not one solution, but there's one way we can try to limit the amount that this happens is by simply preparing ourselves. And I don't mean prepare ourselves like as in, you know, don't take money to school because someone's gonna nick it. But I mean prepare yourself physically, train for it and be confident in yourself because it's not always about fighting. It's not always about fighting. Um, but you have to train yourself. We call ourselves a warrior race, but nobody wants to train now. The young generation, they're glued on their PlayStations or, that's not. You can't just talk about being a warrior race. You can't talk about being a warrior. A warrior does things that people don't do. He trains hard. He dedicates his life to a certain lifestyle. He doesn't talk about it, but he dedicates his life. And these things that we have to, as a community, we have to understand and we have to act upon it. No one's gonna. You can make as much video. You can have as much social media coverage as you want, but it's not gonna change the issue. It's not gonna. Racism isn't gonna go. Bullying isn't gonna go. Unfortunate as it is, it's part of life, and we have to prepare ourselves for it.
100%. I think
And
like,
and, and, and sorry to interrupt, it's worse. I'm sorry. It's situation now is wicked compared to say when your dad come or your grandparents come, mate. The situation when my dad come or when my grand is a million times better now than it
yeah,
was back then. A million times. Back then it was straight up racism. We was where there's I don't know, I think there's 250,000 Sikhs in the country. There was 25,000.
yeah,
It was direct. And your house front windows would get smashed, and your cars would get smashed. You would get beaten up like
hmm,
by every day, every day, every day, every day. And they went through it. They soldiered because they was hard. They were stronger than us. They had the mentality where fight or flight, and they chose fight. But nowadays, kids, like I said, life's easy, so it doesn't occur as much. It still happens, but it's not as much, and so we forget the struggles. But we've got to realize that nobody is gonna, nobody owes anybody anything at the end of the day, and you have to look after yourself, and you have to look after your family. And there's only one way. Not one way, but one major way you can help yourself is training and preparing yourself.
yeah. I feel like when you do train, like you carry yourself in a different manner than someone
Different
who
manner. You're
doesn't.
confident in yourself. You walk different. You talk different. Everything about you is different.
Exactly. So like maybe like in a circumstance where somebody might get bullied, if they are training, they might carry themselves in a way where the other person thinks, "Oh,
That's right.
I'll
Yeah.
not do
And
anything." Yeah,
do you know what it is? If you know how to throw a punch, I'm not advocating fighting. Nobody should. You don't go to school to fight. You don't walk down the road knowing that I'm going to punch someone in the face. But if the time occurs, and like I said, it could happen to anyone. It probably does. It will happen to everyone. At least you know how to defend yourself.
yeah, yeah,
Regardless, not just Sikh kids, any kid might
yeah.
get bullied. Anybody can get bullied. At least the kid knows how to defend himself.
And that's confidence in itself. Like if anything occurs,
Exactly.
I know I can handle myself.
Handle myself. Yeah.
And 100% agree. Like we do have it a lot easier than generations that have came before us. And it is like it is relative, I guess you could say. But when something like this does happen, it's just like a reminder that yeah, we've made strides, but we're not there yet. There's
We're not
still
there. And I don't think you will ever
Mhm.
defeat racism or bullying because, like I said, it's a harsh truth, but it's genuinely a part of life.
Yeah. I think bullying and I think bullying and racism can sort of be separated there because
They can be, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I feel like bullying will always occur. But
Okay, yeah,
I think I was having this conversation with a friend the other day, and I was saying that racism will still be a thing. Like people will probably have opinions, but it's becoming less popular to
yeah.
be racist. Like back in the day when our
It was like a, not a cool thing, but it was a normal thing. It was a
it
normality.
was a normal thing, yeah. Like there was a like white people would unite against people coming to their country,
Yeah,
and now it's more like you unite against the racist
that's
behavior.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think the biggest impact has been within probably the past couple of years with social media,
Mm,
is it's affecting people financially now, and that's the key thing. Like if there's a video of a CEO or whatever, and he's being racist,
yeah, yeah,
then
that's it.
they
People
lose their
both, you
position,
know,
their
exactly. Yeah,
income's
yeah,
gone. I think we're seeing it in America. Like the one of the guy who owns the NBA teams, had like a video or like some audio footage leaked of him basically saying racist things against black people, even though the majority of his like players that he owned were black.
Majority of his sport is, you know, dominated by blacks.
Exactly, and the NBA just kicked him out straight away. So I feel like when that
Yeah,
happens, and it happens on a lower level as well, you see
yeah, yeah, of course.
people like law firms and
For
things are
example, your
kicked.
employee, your manager, you know,
That's it.
whatever.
You grew up in London, is that correct? Yeah. So is
Yeah,
that
yeah, it's under, yeah.
that's obviously quite multicultural.
Multicultural, yeah.
Do you think that helped you sort of like bed into you growing up and things because you did have people coming from so many different cultures, so there's probably less
Yeah.
ignorance because you all
I
just blend
mean,
together.
where I went to school, when I went to school, there was only two things in the whole, about three or four actually. That's tell a lie. About three or four of us. One was my brother.
Right.
He was 2 years older than me, and there was a couple others, but there weren't many where I'm from.
Hmm.
Well, now there is, but when I was growing up, there wasn't. Um, at the end of the day, we have to understand that up in it, bully up in it is like I said. If there's two things: there's racism and there's bully and there's bullying.
Hmm.
Anyone can get bullied. You know, an up and up can bully an up and up, and it probably happens every day in schools. Um, like I said, unfortunately it is. But the racism side, like we spoke about, you know, that is changing. Attitudes just changing. You know, you could live in an area that's, you know, heavily English and there's not many um, other ethnic minorities living there. But you know, it's changed a lot.
Hmm.
People are a lot more understanding. They're a lot more open. But bullying, the bullying side, I think that's just happens everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when it's like young boys as well. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you
Boy,
get
like,
to that age.
and everyone's like, you know, picking on a weaker kid. You know, you and I, we both saw it growing up, and to be honest, I had a kid who was he was Polish. He come from Poland, and he'd always get picked on because. But he was a nice guy. No one really understood him. You know, it's not his fault he didn't speak English. He was a nice kid, and he was actually my friend. And then, like I said, bullying. Everyone always gets bullied, but it's our duty as Sikhs to stand up for them or against, or you know, against the bullies. But you know, it's just life.
Yeah. Pivoting back to the boxing career and when you got into when did you like catch the bug? I know it's quite a vague term, but it's always like I think most people know when they found their passion. And when do you think
Uh,
that you were like, right,
Catch
boxing?
the bug. I thought you were talking about coronavirus there.
Not that bug.
um,
Hopefully, we don't see any of that.
right, you could, well, you know, like I said, boxing's always been like I've always wanted to be a boxer. So maybe when I was young, I probably didn't realize, you know, I was looking at photos. When you're around you're shaped by your surrounding, your environment, the people you meet with, and where I was always around, I don't. It was like it was always in the back of my mind. But once I sort of, you know, started winning fights and getting places, you know, I just thought, you know, I have one shot. Everybody has one shot at life. You might as well take it and take it with both hands and make the most of it. As to when I caught the bug, I don't know. I was from a young age, probably before I even remember. You know, when it's just in the back of your mind, you know, you grow up thinking about it, and it's natural to you. I didn't know it was something I've always wanted to do. You know, I
Yeah.
used to watch the Rocky films and all of that kind of stuff. It was just something I've literally always wanted to do.
Were there any inspirations that you looked up to other than like obviously your family, because their
Yeah,
pictures would have been in the house,
yeah, yeah.
and the trophies, as you said
I
before.
mean, like I get this question asked. You got the greats. Ali and Tyson. Um, every fighter, uh, uh, you could be the any style of boxing you have. You would always look up to two of the biggest names in boxing. I think ever is Ali and Tyson. For various different reasons.
Mm,
Ali for what he did in the ring and out the ring, and Tyson for what he was just a pure animal. You know what I mean? He was a killer. Um, I always looked up to them too, and then obviously I had the more contemporary ones, like Mayweather, and I've always liked Mayweather,
mhm.
despite the criticism he receives and his cockiness and his flair and everything. I loved him.
I feel like that's going away now that he's like been out of the ring for a few years. I think when he's in the ring, that criticism was a lot higher, but now that he's retired, I feel like
There is,
as time goes on,
unfortunately, like they say, they only care about you once you die. I'm not wishing death upon him, but
yeah.
people don't appreciate what he's done and what he's doing.
Hmm.
People just don't appreciate it. He's beat everybody. There's not a name. There's not a. You can't say he didn't fight this person because he was. He's done it all. He's been there, done it all, and he's made money. He come from nothing, and he made millions and millions and millions and millions. He's undefeated, and he's conquered every obstacle. Just, but you can hate on him all you want. He is one of the greatest fighters that have ever lived, and I don't care what people say. They can say he's um he's rude or he's this or he's that, mate. It doesn't matter.
It's part of the persona though. Like that is the appeal of him.
It's what made him his money. At the end of the day, I can hate on him. I can sit here and disrespect him all I want, but he's still earning millions. He's still done what nobody else has ever done.
If
And
anything, I feel like he needs people to hate him because then they tune in to hopefully watch him lose.
whether they tune in or not, he still gets paid. Whether they hate him or not, they still probably watch him as well. That's the worst thing. They will still pay £15 on Sky box
Yeah,
office and watch him.
yeah.
McGregor against McGregor was the fight. It was a stupid fight. People still tune and watching. They could slag him off. They can disrespect him. They can do whatever. They can say whatever. But he got the job done.
Yeah. And another thing that you mentioned before was the Rocky movies, and I think like when people say like what was your inspiration growing up, you obviously your first answer is always going to be the Arlies and the Tysons, but I think that like pop culture as in Rocky shouldn't be like overlooked either, because I feel like a lot of
Man,
people
massive,
that is their first
massive.
introduction to boxing.
For a lot of people, it is. Honestly, it was. Well, not so much now because obviously they're a bit outdated. But
Yeah.
everybody I know from our generation and older, they've watched Rocky films. They know who Rocky Balboa is. They know the films more so than most. They know most other fighters.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody who's not a boxer, everybody knows Rocky. From that film. Most people
Yeah,
don't know if he's real, if he's a fake person, if he's based on a true story. Most people don't know that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
everybody knows, like you said, you're 100% right there. That Rocky film, he smashed it. Sylvester Stallone and the whole films, and mate, he done well. And them Creed films, they're not as good. And what Rocky done for boxing is unmatched. It's unmatched. I don't think I'll ever do it again because an entire generation is, like you said, have watched that film and they know who Rocky is.
Yeah, that was a good time for films like Rocky's,
Wicked.
Godfathers. There was a good generation of
Yeah,
people
yeah,
off the
yeah.
back of Godfather as well. But yeah, like, and the story I think behind Rocky as well, with Sylvester Stallone like making the first one himself,
Yeah.
like writing the script, directing it, all of that, and then going on to the success he has
Mm.
is also a good story. But it's just the montages. I think when you think of like any training montage, that's pretty much where it like started from. Do you know what I mean? Like you see one of them and your mind goes to Rocky, and then
That's
you
right.
probably go into the gym the next day
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as a young Inder going into the gym boxing. You're thinking, let's climb to the top of the stairs and do the
Most say like obviously ladies in our Punjabi community, they're not really into boxing. They probably don't send their kids into the gym because they've probably seen Rocky and thinking, I don't want my son getting bashed like him, or do you know what I'm trying to say? Even though it's not true, it's a film, and it's if you look back, if I watch it now and I think, wow, why was I so captivated? It was like it's fake, but it's pop culture. Do you know what I mean? And it was very, very, very popular.
100%. Going back to like the introduction, I mentioned that you had 5 London amateur championships,
Yeah,
and during your amateur career, you had around 75 fights
yeah,
and 50 to 55 wins. Is that
yeah, yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah. So what was the span of like the 5 London amateur championships? Like what age range?
So I mean, Well, it started from when I was say 12 and I had my first year of boxing. I lost my first two fights,
Mhm.
and then I went on to beating. I beat Daniel Dubois, the one who boxed on the weekend, the super heavyweight. I
Oh,
beat
really?
Yeah, so that was my first year. I mean, well, I think whatever. Um, so I won them. You know what? I say five, but I know it's probably more than five. I've probably got all the trophies here. I won them a long time for quite a few years in a row,
Yeah.
um, consecutively. I got to the national final. I've been to three national finals, but I've never won one.
Right.
You know, I've come out the fight and people have said to me, "You won every single round there." You know, I don't know how the judges didn't see it. So when I come back to when I said about racism, I don't know what the reason was. That could be a reason. You know, I was the only up and I kid doing it back then. In
Mhm.
the amateurs, I've been to three national finals. Never won. I boxed like in box cups abroad and whatever, everywhere.
Do you think they shape like careers from a young age? Like they think that somebody might have star potential, so they want them to sort of progress through the ranks, have a decorated amateur career, and then propel them into the pros? Or do you think that
Yes and no.
isn't it?
Yes and no. Um, there's several reasons, several things. A good amateur doesn't always make a good pro because what you don't realize, what people don't realize, is professional boxing is stupid as it sounds. It's a different sport to amateur boxing. It's a complete different thing. You know, the training, the lifestyle, the what goes on behind the scenes. It's a complete different thing from the amateur boxing. People have to realize that. A good amateur doesn't always make a good pro. There are a lot of good amateurs who I was growing up with training with. They all stop. You know, it's not like every good boxer who comes into the gym walks out and makes it as a world champion. You know, there's hundreds of kids that walk into the gym every day as amateurs, as young amateurs who are good, and they don't always win, or they don't always progress forward. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to your heart and to how much you want it. You know, your
Yeah,
perseverance. You know, everybody faces obstacles in life, and you fall down, you get back up again, and that's what makes a fighter. That's what really makes a champion. There are kids out there or people out there who have it all their way. They're winning, winning, winning. As soon as they take a loss, they never come back again.
yeah, yeah.
But
Well, it
yeah,
seems like Wilder's like that at the moment because he's
Wilder's like that at the moment. Listen, it's happened every time. You know, it happens years and year in, year out, year in, year out. It's just life, isn't it? I guess just as not every kid who goes to local football team makes it as a professional footballer. Not every kid who walks into the gym makes it as a professional boxer. It's just
yeah.
luck. I don't know what it is. There's a million reasons.
It's a combination of lots of things, I think,
Lots of
like
things.
you
Yeah.
mentioned, yeah. Going back to a couple of episodes ago when I interviewed a guy from Harveer Singh, is a Muay Thai fighter from New York. He was saying at amateur level, they don't test for anything in the States. Like he
I'm,
goes that you could have
I'm not sure. I won't be able to tell you. I don't
at
think we're testing the amateurs here either. Actually, I have never been testing the amateurs. I've never been tested at all.
really
Uh, I don't think they test it. I'm not too sure on that. I'm not too sure about that.
okay, because that's surprising to me just because I think like obviously safety of fighters and etc. But maybe it's because there's not as much funding at amateur level and then
Yeah,
professional
I
wise
mean,
obviously there's more money in the sport.
um, maybe if you go to like Olympics and stuff, if you get to like that sort of level, there probably is some sort of testing available. Testing, there is testing. Yeah, there is. There is.
Yeah, there's a test at
Um,
the Olympic
they
level,
can't
but I'm
test every
surprised.
single amateur in the world. It just
Yeah,
doesn't make sense monetarily, financially, and all that stuff. I think when you get to a certain level, they do test you.
right. Okay, okay. I just wanted to check that because I think I said in that interview that that we do testing in the UK, but it's
I think
probably
yeah, we
at
do,
a
we
certain
do, we do,
level.
we do. It's
Yeah.
like I haven't been tested as a professional. It doesn't mean they don't test professional. It's just I haven't been tested yet.
Yeah. What, have you not been tested as a professional either? Yeah.
No, not yet.
Oh, really?
Mm.
That is surprising. Yeah, it's probably like at a certain level then, because then you can't.
I mean, I think
I
it's
guess.
random as well, spontaneous. They could turn my door right now. Do you know what I mean? And
Okay, okay. Yeah,
I
because
was,
I'm pretty sure like the British Boxing Border Control does their own like random testing, but then
they do the one testing, and then you got like when you fight for a title and stuff, you have to test then.
yeah, yeah.
There's loads of things in place, you know.
As successful as you were inside the ring during your amateur career, you also made like massive impact outside of the ring because you
Yeah.
changed the rule that. So, can you explain the rule that was in place before and then like what
Okay.
happened?
All right. Yeah. Just a heads up. I didn't do it on my own. I get all the credit
Yeah,
for it, but
yeah,
I didn't do it alone. You know, there's a lot of people involved. But so basically, what it was throughout the world, amateur boxing, you could watch Olympics and everything else. Amateur boxing, you wasn't allowed to keep a beard. Now, the reason for the rule is not too clear. They say if you get cut, it could disguise the cut. Um, I don't really know what that's one of the reasons, but I'm not too sure of the exact definite answer as to why the rule stood. It's an international law, so every single country had to adhere by it. And then in Canada, some guy, I can't remember his name, he was an up and geezer. He fought and got it changed in Canada, and then we got it done here. So myself and the CPA, Jasvir, the Lions MMA Club, one of the boys from Midlands, Curran, we got together. Well, they actually got together. They started the process, but they needed a case study, and I was the only case study. So I was involved, and we campaigned for it, and we got it overturned in England. And now, hopefully, Canada's done it, England's done it, and hopefully other countries follow suit. But like I said, it wasn't just for Sikhs; it's part of our religion. But everybody keeps a beard now. When I was boxing, everyone was like, "Oh, you know what?" They was actually come up to me saying, "Thank you, bro. Thank you for letting us been there." Not because everybody hated you shaving. Imagine if you kept a beard, even if it was a short beard, a stub or whatever, and you had to shave before your fight. It was just not what people wanted to do.
Yeah.
And like I said, it didn't really make sense. Every other combat sport, you're allowed a beard. Professional boxing, you're allowed a beard. It's just in the amateurs you weren't. So we got the rule overturned, and the rest is history. Yeah.
And as you said before, like the headlines, you were in the headlines the most, but I'm assuming there was like a lot of intricacies that went into it because
Yeah.
overturning a rule that stood for so long probably wasn't easy.
No, it
Um,
was.
what was it? What were like the intricacies? Like, who did you actually have to go to get this rule overturned? Was it?
They went to England boxing, but when they went to England boxing, they had to have like doctors on their side. They had to get a legal team on their side. So it was quite a lot involved. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure of the details, but I know they put on a lot of work, and it was going on for months and months. But the boys, they've done it. They've done it, and they changed the course.
Surprised it's not happened in like India then. If it's happened in Canada and
Yeah, I think
England.
listen, India. There's a lot of things that's wrong with India. Do you know what I mean? It will happen, I guess. It will just take time. I think, you know what I mean. It's just not like I don't know. I don't know why it's not happening, but yeah, it makes sense. You would think India would be the first, but it's not the case.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the people who leave like the country probably have a bigger affection for the culture because they want to preserve it, whereas there
That's
it's probably just like it's really. Do you know what I mean?
normal. That's right. Yeah.
Do you feel like during that period, because it did get a lot of media coverage as well, so do
Yeah.
you feel like could you feel the impact of the media coverage after that occurred?
In what sense?
Because like I remember, so that's pretty much when I first started following you as a boxer because you were on
Okay.
BBC Sport.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They did like a video, um, and this was I think this was only like maybe what 3 years ago I think it was.
2017. Yes, 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So like obviously I'm not going to be the only person who's watched that BBC Sport video. There would have been
Yeah,
countless
you know
others.
what? Funny enough, I done an interview on BBC, and I was walking down the road, and some geezer turned down his window. He goes, "Was you on BBC yesterday?" Some random geezer. I was walking down the road. I was like, "Yeah, that was me." He's like, "Oh shit, well done, bro. Good seeing you on TV." He goes, "I was watching it yesterday."
Yeah,
Random geezer,
just random. That's
random, completely random. Don't know who he was, where he's from.
so
He
there
was a
would have been
BBC
like
driver.
there
Huh?
would have been like a lot of other not just like not just up on it but just general population who would
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah. General population. Yeah, I mean, it was a massive opportunity for myself to get my name out there. I was only young then, so we're younger. So it was good. I didn't really do it for that reason, but
Mhm.
that was part of the parcel.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, like the main aim was to
Yeah, to get
change,
the
but
beard done. I was
if you
just
get benefits from it,
wherever
then
I could help out, I helped out. But yeah, it come with a lot of pros.
and talking about pros, you last year turned to professional.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Last year.
What was like the decision for that? Because like a lot of amateurs stay for a bit longer because you're only 23, so you would have
Yeah,
turned professional at 22.
yeah,
And like you don't really see many boxers turn
yeah,
professional
yeah,
that
yeah,
early.
yeah.
So what was your like logic behind
Um, Simply, I wanted to give it a go, give it a crack. I wanted to do something that, like I said, not many up and things. I think there's probably about 3 or 4 other up and boxers that have turned professional. Probably not even 4. I think about 2 or 3 in England, in the UK.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know a
wanted to give it,
towel.
and I was the
Towel on
first
yourself.
gear, like
Yeah.
one with my hair intact, my first one with the gears. So I wanted to give it a crack. I wanted to give it a go. I wanted to just do it, literally, just do it.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity, and I wanted to do it. It's something I've always wanted to do. It's something, my family had always been involved in boxing, but it was never a professional. Times were different back then. They had to earn a living, they had to work, they had to do other things, and the opportunity was there. So for me not to take it would have been disrespectful. The opportunity presented itself. I was always, like I said, it's every young footballer's dream to become a professional footballer, every young boxer's dream to become a professional boxer.
Mhm.
So the opportunity presented itself. I've always wanted to do it, so I took it with both hands, and here
Is
we
that
are.
something that like that opportunity is comes from like an external source, or is that something that you decide yourself?
Bit of both, it's a bit of both. You can't just wake up and say I'm going to be a professional boxer and expect to be a professional boxer.
Mhm.
Um, you have to work for it, and then also you have to speak to people, get in touch with people. There's a very variety of different reasons. There's various reasons as to how you become a professional, but I've done it, and here I am.
And then when you signed professional, you signed under the management company MTK, which is it's quite a big deal. You were the first Sikh boxer to sign
First
with them,
time with them, yeah, and
and
first
they're
anything,
massive. They're
yeah. I
massive,
mean,
massive.
I got more. I've had 3 fights as a professional. I've had more publicity, more awareness, more everything in these past 3 fights than I had in my entire 10 years as an amateur.
Yeah,
And that's just the way it is, the publicity, I wouldn't say fame, I'd say like the awareness, the everything. Like I said, being on Instagram, being walking down the road, people recognize me. After my debut, I went to Selfridges. This
mhm.
was Christmas time, and someone was like, "Are you a professional boxer?" I'm up and I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, my friend follows you. I'm from Watford or something." And I was like, "Oh, wow." This is after my debut. I've never had that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
10 years of amateur boxing, but it's part of the game, and it's part of the parcel. Like I said earlier on, it's part of the sport.
100%. When you're part of like a management company like MTK, what
Mm.
sort of like benefits does that like come with? Because obviously, as I say, that they're massive. Like some of the names that I've got here on their roster, like are household names.
Yeah,
Rocky
definitely.
Fielding, John O'Carroll, Huey Fury, Josh Taylor,
Yeah,
Dave Allen, one of my favorites because he's just funny. Carl Frampton, Billy Joe
yeah, yeah.
Saunders, and obviously
Um,
Tyson Fury.
Massive benefits. My debut was on Sky Sports,
Yeah.
so most people have their debut on a small show, whatever. My debut was in Sky Sports on a massive show, and when they was showing my fight, you could see I had to ring my granddad and all his friends. All my all bug guys sitting there with their bugs on.
Mhm.
Um, Wicked, you know what I mean? To be able to box on Sky Sports, massive pedestal, massive platform. There's a lot of benefits for signing with someone like MTK. They get you out on good shows, they keep you active, they're regularly doing shows. So if you're fit and if you're good, you're active. They look after you.
It wasn't just your debut as well. Your first two fights
First two
were
fights,
on
were,
Sky.
yeah, first two
Yeah,
fights, both on
so
Sky Sports.
they were on the golden contract.
Yeah, both
Undercard.
golden contract undercard, and then my last one was on ESPN and IFL TV and YouTube.
Yeah, yeah,
That's another big platform.
yeah. IFL are huge. Like that when you made your pro debut. I watched your interview straight after. But I think it was it Andrew McCarth?
I
I
couldn't write
think
them a
I
few,
think
but
that's one of the guys who does it.
yeah.
But yeah, like IFL is like massive. Like they're just putting out so much content all the time.
That's right, yeah.
Um, what as you were saying before, like the difference between amateur boxing and professional boxing is like crazy. So what was that feeling like for yourself when you took the step up from amateur to making your pro debut?
Uh, if we look at the sense of training, so let's look at the training side.
Yeah,
The training side, it was different. It was harder. It was like your whole life of training was your whole life. You weren't just going down the amateur gym 3 4 times a week and training and doing a couple of runs at home. This was sorry, one second. This was a whole life. This was your whole life was dedicated to doing this training. So
yeah,
it was different and it was hard. You know what I mean? Hard in the sense that you couldn't. It's not that you couldn't have a day off. It's more that your body was tired, but you had to push. And, that was a big transition for me, the training side. But I was never. I was always a hard trainer. I was always, giving it 100% in training, and I still do, obviously. But that was a big deal. That's for every fight. They just say one of the first major things is the training, the difference in training, and not just what you do, it's how you do it as well. So there's different things, and that was a big part. And then, like I
Do you
said,
mind going into detail for some of them?
yeah, I mean, it was like in the amateurs, you just do like a generic thing. You know, you'd go to the gym, you'd do a bit of skipping, then go on the bags, do a bit of sparring, do a bit of pads and go home. Whereas in a professional boxing, it was specific. You know, my first say month, 6 weeks, I was doing footwork drills. All my coach had me doing was footwork drills every day, every day. It was boring, and I was like, it's not good enough, it's not hard enough. I was thinking, this is not training, but it helped, and it helped my footwork. You know,
Yeah.
it could be the smallest thing ever, but with repetition, it was working on specific things. It wasn't just doing the same thing every day, you know, just to go through the motions, go through the paces. It was specific. It was training was a bit more scientific. It was a bit more like I had a lot more pressure on my shoulders in a way because like I had my debut on two massive platform, my debut on a massive platform, my second fight. It was like a lot more. It's your whole life kind of. It's literally your whole life. You know, you'd wake up, you'd train, you'd come home, you'd rest, you'd eat right, and then you train again. You know,
Yeah.
it was a job in a way. Whereas the amateurs, it was just like it wasn't a hobby. It was a hobby, but it was like just the amateurs wasn't that specific. It wasn't that. It wasn't direct. It wasn't. I think I improved more as a year in my past year as a professional than I have in say the past 3-4 years as an amateur.
Yeah.
I mean, it was because it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different ball game, and people don't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you have a new coaches, new ideas. You surround yourself with different people. The sparring is longer. It's more. You do more rounds. You do. You know, you have to change your style a bit. You have to adapt to the longer rounds. You're not training for 3 rounds now. You're training for 4. Is what you start off in. And I've done 6 rounds in my third fight.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of changes, but it's part of the game. And I didn't really struggle with the training side. It was more how it was done, not what we did. You know, I didn't
Yeah.
struggle with because it was hard. I couldn't do, for example, I couldn't do the running or I couldn't do the bag work. It was just harder in a way we did it.
Do you think it's more like intellectual as well because you're
Yeah,
taking
yeah,
on
yeah.
so much
Because
more?
obviously we train not to just be a 4 round fighter. We train to do 12 rounds. So our game plan from young is to prepare ourselves for 12 rounds.
Mhm.
And that is a mental thing as well, more than a physical thing. Not more than, but just as much as it's a physical thing, it's a mental thing as well. It's a mental battle in there. And obviously, another massive thing that everybody should realize when they're going to the professionals about the ticket side. You know, you have to sell tickets, and it was exciting for me. You know, I was
Mhm.
selling tickets. I was only making a bit of money for the first time ever. But that's a massive aspect of professional boxing as well, ticket sales.
But do you think it's because in the amateurs you work more on yourself, whereas in the professionals you work specifically to an opponent because you know that's what's coming up?
What's
Or is,
partially. I mean, in the amateurs, when you get to a certain level, you know who you're fighting. You're not just going to fight a random guy. When
right?
you're young, it's different. But that wasn't the difference. I don't really. There's not one thing that was different. It was just everything.
Everything.
You're
Yeah.
training for an opponent, specific opponent. Yeah, you're right. You were training to fight longer rounds. Yeah, we was doing it. We were training to be stronger. You know, strength training is a massive difference. You know, we're doing a lot of strength work. We was, just everything. You're meeting new people. You're speaking to new people. That was a complete different thing. You know, you're mixing amongst professionals. You're seeing professionals spar. You know, people that you see on TV. You're now watching them in the gym sparring. I mean, you're now sparring them. You know, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
completely different.
And the rules are like well, the rules aren't too much different, but they're all like you're not exactly awarded points in the same system as you are in amateurs, and you're allowed to get away with a lot more in the professional ranks. Is that
Yeah.
something that you work on in the gym, like working on the insides or roughing people up and things
Um.
like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, professional boxing, like I said, it's a business. It's also a sport, but it's a business as well. So you learn these things with time. You know, as we see, there's always little tricks to the trade.
Hmm.
And I'm not really a dirty fighter, but you do get dirty fighters. You know, I broke my nose with a headbutt, but
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
say me, didn't you get disqualified? No, because even though he probably did it kind of intentionally, playing rough, but he must have disguised it well.
yeah, yeah,
There's just it's like I said, it's a complete different sport. The amateurs is a sport we work double jab right. You know, you're upright boxing, we're moving, we're staying, we're boxing for points, but in a professional way, you fight to hurt them, and
Yeah.
that's the difference. Or they fight to hurt you as well.
And watching that fight where you had broken your nose, that was in the second round, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I think towards the end of the second round.
And up until that point, like I watched it live on IFO, and up until that point, you were boxing really clean, and he seemed
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sort of like a
I
ruffian.
mean, if it carried on like that, I probably would have stopped him in say 3 or 4 rounds.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, it was landing clean. I was hitting him with good shots. I wasn't really getting caught. I didn't really get caught in the most of the first round. Well, all of the first round, most of the second round until my nose broke. But
Yeah,
again, that's a massive thing. You know, my nose was pouring out blood. I couldn't breathe. I come back to the second round. I've never had a broken nose, and I come back. I'm sitting in the corner in the second round, and my energy was just like I felt tired all of a sudden. I mean,
yeah,
that was the fittest I've ever been, and I couldn't breathe through my nose. It was like imagine a massive blockage. And I didn't even think about having a broken nose. I didn't even know it could happen. I've never had a broken nose. I said to my car, I said, I can't breathe from it. I need to blow it. He said, you can't blow it. You can't blow it. It's pouring out with blood. And he was holding it to stop the blood. And I was like, bro, I just cannot breathe. My energy was zapped. I didn't even realize I had a broken nose. And I fought with a broken nose. I was a point, like I said, I couldn't breathe from the second round onwards. I could not breathe through my nose. I was breathing through my mouth. I had my gum shut in there. You can't leave your mouth open. You get caught with shots. It was hard in there, but I showed heart, and I always knew I had heart. But that's something you have to prove. You know, you can tell everyone, "Oh, I've got heart. I've got this, and I've got that. I've got a chin." But until you don't prove it, you know, it doesn't mean anything. Words are not really, they're meaningless.
yeah,
And I showed in that fight heart, and he hit me with all he's got, but I didn't go down, and I still carried on fighting even to the last bell. And like I said, he knows I'm coming again. He knows I'm, you know, the rematch is going to be on, and it was listen. Like I said, I'm not here to disrespect him as a fighter, but there was levels to it. You know what I mean? And like you saw, like you said yourself, the first round I bossed it. Most of the second round I was bossing it. When my nose broke, it was just a different story.
you could see like a clear day and light between like the first and second round, and then the rest of the fight afterwards. Like you
That's right.
could
Yeah.
see that there was something wrong. It did take. I was watching it with my dad, and I called it out. Then I think he's broken his nose.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, a lot of people didn't see it. You saw it. You know, you must have been looking closely in that. But it's just one of on the replay when you know you're looking for it, you can see it. But
yeah, I didn't clock it in this like in the third round. I didn't clock it immediately. It was like in the fourth or fifth. You can sort of tell just I think because you could just tell. Do you know what I mean? It's one of
yeah,
them hard things. Like if like I've been watching like boxing for like since I was a kid, and
yeah,
it's not an uncommon thing to happen.
that's right. Yeah,
So when it does happen, you can sort of see
see,
similarities
yeah,
between fighters. Yeah.
yeah.
And this isn't the first time that you had fought him. You fought him in the amateurs as well, and that
Yeah,
didn't exactly end.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just one of them ones. Like I said, there's tricks to the trade. There's things that you can do, get away with. The worst thing was the referee come off, you know, after the second round. He come up to me, and said, "The clash of heads causes that headbutt on your nose, cause that cut on your nose." And I'm thinking, yeah, fucking hell, don't say nothing to him. No, don't warn him for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it is what it is. You know, I can sit here crying about it, or I can take the positives from it. Like I said, I'll be back without a doubt. Um, it's given me a fuel, and I'm hungry and more hungry than ever now. Do you know what I mean? I need to fight. I need to get back in the ring, doing what I do best. It was a big fight to take. It was only my third fight. I didn't have to take it.
Yeah.
I didn't need to take it. I didn't, you know, but I wanted to. I wanted to fight. You know, I'm not here to make up numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not here to duck anybody or shy away. Whatever happens, I'm a fighter, and I showed that in the ring. And like I said, time and time again, I'll show it. Continue to show it until the day I retire. I'll show them people that I'm not here to make up numbers. I'm a fighter, and that's what I do.
Yeah, because it was billed as like a 50-50 fight as well going
Yeah,
into it. So
cool. Yeah, 100%, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
listen, he was 3 and I was 2 and on paper it was a 50-50 fight. 100%.
exactly. Which you're taking early in your career, like most people don't. So again, credit
I
to you
don't
in
lose
that.
too, but like I don't regret it. I'll do it all
Yeah.
again.
Do
I'll
you
do it
think
all again.
because you've had like a loss like early in your career now, do you think that one sort of relieves a lot of pressure? Because I know like fighters nowadays are obsessed with,
Yeah,
probably because of Floyd, like we were talking about before, because he
probably,
was
yeah.
undefeated. Do you think that pressure is gone off your shoulders? Like, look, I know I can come back from a loss now. Jay Horgia, it doesn't matter, but I can try my best no matter what.
Probably, but like I said, I haven't gotten into ring. At the end of the day, you know what it is? Pressure, yeah, for me. Pressure makes diamonds. So I don't mind pressure. I don't mind people looking at me. I don't mind people disrespecting me. I don't mind people talking good about me, good publicity, bad publicity. All publicity is good publicity. I
Mm-hmm.
don't mind. I don't mind pressure. You know, there could be one person in the arena, there could be 1,000,001 people. I've got to do my job in there. So, like I said, it's not nice having an L on your record and having a loss on your record. It's not the nicest things, but I'm not here to have a fabricated record. You know, I know loads of fighters who are 10, 12 and 0, I know, and they're just sitting around it because they're bored. They don't want to. They don't want to continue fighting general because they can't. They're 12 and 0 now.
Mm-hmm.
They can't step up because they're scared. They're not good enough. So listen, I took a loss on the record, but people who know, they know that it wasn't a loss. It was what I showed in that ring. Most fighters ain't never shown.
Yeah.
You know, nobody can doubt my chin, nobody can doubt my heart, and it wasn't ideal, but I'm still here. I live to fight another day, and I'll fight again. My time will come again, and we'll get the rematch again, and you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think anyone can say anything about your chin now after that. Not
Yeah,
going
yeah,
down towards the latter rounds when
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can't breathe and you was landing bombs and stuff. Like
And
nobody
you
can
know,
doubt
your visions, you know, water starts coming in your eyes, and because you broke your
that.
nose, but
I can
no
imagine.
problem. You know, I'm a fighter.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. Like I've dropped my phone on my nose, like when I'm watching like a YouTube video or something, and I feel like crying for like 5 minutes because there's that much water coming out of my eyes. I can only imagine what
Yeah.
a
Even
broken.
after the fight, like even now, I have to take a deep breath through my nose, so I can't entirely breathe through my nose. So I have to deep breath through my mouth just while I'm talking, while I'm eating. You know, it's calmed down now. I can slowly start breathing. It's been about 15, 16, 17 days
Mm,
since, no, probably more than that. I think almost 3 weeks now. Um, but I would have to stop talking just to breathe through my mouth. I would have to stop eating to breathe through my mouth because I couldn't breathe through my nose. And I
yeah,
was thinking, I'd done a fight. You know, I had someone on me trying to kill me, trying to knock me out, and my heart got me through it. And like I said, we've got a chin. He would have had to hit me with a sledgehammer to take me down.
definitely, definitely. Is this something that you're gonna have to be conscious of going forward as well? Because you are quite tall in your weight class. So the average height of like a super welterweight, sorry,
Yeah,
is around like 5'9", 5'10", and you're just
six
above
one,
6
six
foot.
two.
Yeah.
I'm actually on box rec. I'm 6 foot, but I'm not. I'm like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, so is this something that like I think you see it all the time where like a bigger fighter goes in with a smaller fighter, there tends to be a lot of head clashes just because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
you're
mean,
punching down, they're punching
to
up.
be honest, I've had 70. I've had 75 amateur fights. I've only ever cut my head twice, and both times against him.
Yeah,
So I'm not really conscious. When I'm in the ring, anything can happen. I'm prepared for the worst. It's not
yeah,
a
yeah.
problem for me. I'm prepared for the worst.
And as we were speaking about energy levels, like obviously that's a an occurrence that isn't going to happen every fight. Hopefully,
Yeah,
like a break in the
yeah,
nose.
yeah.
But how do you like manage energy levels during the day as a whole? Because obviously you need to have full energy during that
Yeah.
fight. But I
To be
can
honest,
imagine,
you know what? That's probably the ones that I'm not too educated on. I've never really bothered too much about, which is a good thing. It's a bad thing. I'm not too sure. I
right?
just do myself on a day. You know, I chill out. I enjoy myself. I just listen to music. I eat normally. I don't do anything unusual that I've never done. You know, I just
Mm,
be myself. You know, I was in a hotel, I was in quarantine. I was just chilling in my room. You know, I was going downstairs to the lobby area where everyone else was. Just doing me. It's just
yeah,
at the end of the day, we can in our mind really powerful. You can overthink and you can tire yourself thinking about the fight
yeah,
and trying to prepare yourself in the morning of the fight. You know, I've got a fight, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But when you get in the ring, everybody, like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan till they get punched in the face.
mhm,
So there's no point worrying about it. It's a spar. You've done a million spars. I've had hundreds of fights before. It's no problem. It's another fight. Whatever happens, I know what I've got to do. When I get in the ring, it's got to be second nature to me because I've already done it in the ring in the training camp. So what
mhm,
I'm going to do in the ring is going to be nothing new to me. It's going to be another day, another dollar. You know, the fight's over. I'm going to go home. You know, I don't kill myself. I don't stress out over my fight. I don't worry myself. I don't lock myself from everybody. I just be myself, be normal, be cool, do my part in the morning, and just chill out, enjoy myself.
yeah,
It's a journey. You have to enjoy the journey. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I think because obviously, like from the outside looking in, so I always feel like this going to a fight and that must be like such an adrenaline sort of time. Like even like the ring walk and stuff. So how do you
No,
not like
definitely,
zap?
definitely, definitely. You can try not to be like I said. You said I try and be normal, be myself, but you got to adrenaline. It's like a in your heart, you know, I'm fighting, so I've got a fight tonight. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
just a football match, it's a fight.
yeah,
You know, you've prepared 6 weeks for 8 weeks for it, so it's finally here today. It's
yeah,
enjoying walking to the ring. When you walk into the arena, you touch the ring, you know, it's all enjoy. It's all a it's a feeling no boxer can explain because it's mad, but it's what us fighters go through. You know, it's what we're prepared to do.
I guess the more you do it as well, like obviously, you're close to 80 fights now if you include the amateur ones. Like it's the the feeling will probably always be the same as in like really high, but like the effects of it on your body are probably like
Yeah, yeah,
reduce
yeah.
every
So the
time.
feeling doesn't change, but maybe the effects probably doesn't. They're not as lasting or not as don't take as much of a toll.
Yeah. And you're currently in the welterweight, but I've heard that you say that you could even make welterweight if you had
I
to.
don't know. I mean, I've been told I can make welterweight.
Right.
I'm never silly weight above. I'm like right now probably about 74 kilos. So
Yeah.
about half a stone over my fight weight, which is super mid. So it's not a big deal. I could probably make welterweight. I'm not too sure. I'd have to see. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it too much.
But you're still quite young as well. Like, as I said, you're only 23. Do you
Yeah,
think it's more likely that you'll end up going up weight classes as time progresses? Because
probably. I mean, that's the natural thing that everyone does, man. They go up as they grow older. But
yeah,
you never know, man. You never know.
so that would be light middle, or is it straight into
No,
middle?
no. So super welterweight and light middle is the same.
Oh, okay.
It's just different names,
Right.
like
Okay. Okay.
depending on the like organization, WBO, WBO, I don't know what, and then it's middleweight, and then it's super middle.
Yeah. So then, what is like so the top person in your weight class at the moment is Charlo, like globally.
Globally, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that someone that you look up to or like watches
You know
fight?
what? I don't really. Listen, Charlo's a good fighter. It's not someone I actually look up to. I don't know why, you know, because for me right now, I watch Canelo. I watch a lot of Canelo.
Yeah.
Um, one of my favorite all-time fighters was Miguel Cotto. He's
Yeah.
retired now, but
Yeah.
you know, Charlo's a phenomenal fighter. But I just don't feel like he's not someone I watch a lot. I watch him when he fights, of course, you know, he's my weight, but
Hmm.
he's not someone I trying to be like, or you know what I'm trying to say.
But when as like a person who isn't involved in boxing, when I watch a fight, it's purely for entertainment.
Mm.
When you watch a fight, do you watch it with a more analytical sort of head on, or can you just enjoy boxing for boxing?
Bit of both, I think. Sometimes, like
Yeah.
for example, the heavyweight fight on the weekend, I don't watch it for. I mean, I'm constantly watching. You know, my brain's while I'm watching a fight, my brain's ticking. He threw the double jab well. Oh, he's throwing the left hook to the body well.
Yeah.
But like he threw the left hook to the body well, or he done this or he done that. But when it's hard. You can't always log off when you're watching boxing because
Mhm.
we watch them to be like them kind of thing sometimes.
Yeah. And then in the UK scene, you've got like Anthony Fowler, Big
Yeah.
Show, Cheeseman. Um, is that something that you look probably a bit more closely because that's
Closely, yeah, definitely. You know, you look at them more closely because one day I could be fighting in the near future. It's more than highly likely I could be fighting one of them. So when I watch them, it's to learn, to see what they do, see what they don't do. But when you watch big fights, I mean, I could watch Lomachenko. I watch him for entertainment, but watching to learn from him as well. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. um, and then going into that, so like in boxing, I feel like I like Matchroom and I listen to Eddie Hearn a lot because he is like quite a flamboyant character, and he always says that you're never more than 3 fights away than from a big fight. So
Yeah.
is that what you think in your head? Like if you smash your next 3 fights, you could go up against one of the top ones in the UK, and then if you beat them, you can go up to next thing, or do you just not
But
feel
you
like
know, I've never actually heard, I've never knew he said that, but it's quite a good way to look at things. You know what I mean? You know, we've only had 3 fights, so to say three for me might be a bit of a stretch.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it's a good way of looking at boxing because you know 3 fights. You know, I could be in line for eliminator for like a Southern area or like an English title, of course.
hmm,
Um, definitely, but listen, you know, you got to treat every fight like it's your last fight,
yeah,
like it's, um, do or die kind of thing.
hmm,
No one's gonna, you know, give you an easy fight just so you can win next time. Do you know what I mean? It
yeah,
doesn't really
yeah.
work. Like every fight you got to focus on in the moment.
Definitely. Do you feel like there's a clear path to follow, or do you feel like it's just more
Nah,
you got
it's
to
not.
take?
There's no clear path. There's fighters out there who have boxed for world titles, but they haven't really boxed no British competition. But there's fighters out there who have boxed com- like local competition, and it's harder. They've gone the hard way. You know, it just depends. There's no clear cut route for anything or anyone. It's
Mhm.
just like I said, you got to get through every fight at a time, and then see where that leads you, kind of thing.
Yeah, you just got to take it as it comes.
You got to play it smart because boxing is about timing. Boxing is about being smart. You know, you can't just keep jumping into the deep end. Like a lot of people saying to Boya, even though he lost, you know, he shouldn't have taken that fight or whatever. But that's up to him. But each fight's timing. You know, maybe in 2 years' time he would have battered Joyce,
Hmm.
or maybe they would have been the same outcome. You don't know, but it's a risk sometimes you've got to take.
On the topic of the fight on the weekend, a lot of sort of people are coming out and saying that he quit, but
Mm.
because he had like I think it's his eye
So
socket, yeah, with like crushed or
broken.
something.
Oh, yeah.
Um, what's your take? Because when I watched it back, as like obviously you see the jab and then he just takes the knee and then
You
he
just
continues
take
to
me,
go.
yeah. So when you look at like when you look at live, you think shit, he's bottled it.
Yeah, yeah.
You think, yeah, he's definitely quit.
But then when the
Which he
doctor's
might have
report
done, you
comes
know.
out, yeah.
Like I said, listen, he wasn't getting battered.
Hmm.
It was a pretty. You could some like one judge had him 2 rounds up, one had Joyce 2 rounds. One stupid judge had it 8 rounds, but I don't think it was that much. You know, it was a not a 50-50. It was like a 60-40 fight either way. It wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting battered. He wasn't getting battered. He wasn't. I mean, not trying to be funny. Joyce hardly threw a right hand. So it wasn't like he got battered. It wasn't like he was one-sided. It wasn't like he was getting destroyed. I don't think he should have taken a knee. I wouldn't have personally,
Hmm.
but he was in the ring. I wasn't in the ring. You were in the ring. Nobody else was in the ring. He was in the ring.
Yeah.
Um, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't have done the same. I wouldn't have. You know, I believe he did quit. He didn't. You know, there's a round and a half or 2 rounds left. It's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
Um, but like I
That's what
said,
I thought when I watched it as well because it
we
was
went
in
in
the
the
10th.
ring. You know me. We went in the ring. We don't have no right to say he done this or he done that. We should have done this. You know, the man in the ring is the man in the ring.
Yeah,
Everybody else, we're just spectators.
100%, 100%. Um, is it okay if I get your take on a few of the divisions that I watch a bit more closely,
Yeah, go
as
for it.
a because as I say as a spectator and not fully into it, you probably have better insight than me.
You know
Um,
what? You know what? I don't actually watch all these big fights sometimes.
right, okay.
Most of them happen at like 11, 12 o'clock at night, or like the American ones at 4. I don't stay awake for that late. But yeah, go for it. Ask me.
Yeah.
I'm obviously.
So you've spoken about Lomachenko a few times, so it's probably best to start off with the lightweight division. So the four-ish fighters that I watch like more closely is, as I said, Loma. I quite like Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, obviously because
Yeah.
he beat Loma, and Ryan Garcia. So out of them four, who would you say is
Lopez by far.
yeah?
He's proved it. I think Devin Haney's good. Ryan Garcia is good. You know, but they're not on Teofimo Lopez's level. You know,
It,
Lopez, he's beaten man. And I
yeah,
think Tank's a lightweight, isn't he?
I think so. I think he's in
Yeah, I
that
think
mix as
Tank beats
well.
all of them except, you know, I'm not too sure of him on Lopez. That's a very 50-50 fight. I do think if they were to have a fight, Lopez nicks it. But
Yeah.
I think Lopez is the best out of all of them. I'm not saying Devin Haney's rubbish, or I just don't feel like he's on their level yet.
What do you think about Loma after his loss? Do you think that's him done, or do you think he's still got a lot to give?
He's got a lot of fights that he knows he can win. He's got a lot of fights that, like, for example, he beats Devin Haney easy. He can earn a few million quid and look good and do what he normally does. I
Mm.
think he beats Devin Haney easy. I don't think he's done. I don't think he's finished. You know, if he plays it smart, he can make money and he can win a world title again easy. It's not a problem for him.
See, I
Um,
quite like Devin Haney. I would probably put him at the higher end of these four, but
no,
because
Joe, I've probably been a harsh critic, but listen, like I said, he's an excellent fighter. I
yeah,
just don't think he's on Tank's level or Teofimo Lopez's level.
yeah, I think the thing is that they still haven't really
Tested them.
yeah, they haven't tested themselves. So until they actually fight each other, which is
Mm.
the same in all the divisions that I'm going to
In
go
every
through.
division, styles make fights, so you can't say he beat him, so he would beat him. It doesn't work
Yeah,
like
it's just from the interviews that I've heard of Garcia and Lopez. They've both said they'd rather fight each other first and leave Haney to last.
that. Oh, is it?
So in my mind, when I hear that, I feel like that
They feel like
means
they're scared of ducking him kind of thing.
they're sort of ducking him,
I
or
mean, I
they
don't
think
know.
that's the better fighter, or whatever it may be. But
You know, sometimes yeah, they do it for money. They probably makes
yeah,
more money fighting him first and fighting him later on. But like I said, who knows, eh?
yeah. And a division that you might end up going into shortly is the welterweight division. So we've got like Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. I think they're the main two. Like obviously Manny Pacquiao's in there, but I feel like he's a bit past his
Mm,
prime,
mm,
respectfully.
mm.
Who would you have out of them two?
I really like Errol Spence.
Yeah.
I really like him. I, I would hope he wins. See, sometimes when you ask a fighter who would you win, who do you think would win, they answer not necessarily based on their abilities, they're based on who they prefer as a fighter more, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Um, Terence Crawford, I'm not taking anything away. The guy's a formidable fighter. He just beat Kelbert with a jab kind of thing,
Mm.
like a little hook with. I don't know. It's a banging fight. I would want Terence Crawford. I would want Errol Spence to win. I think he could nick it, but you never know.
Has Spence fought after his car crash?
No, he hasn't. Actually, yeah, he did it. I think he fought during lockdown, didn't he? I'm not too sure actually.
I don't think he did. I can't remember if
I
he
can't remember.
has
I
or
can't
hasn't.
remember. I can't remember.
Because that
Because
would be
I was going
interesting
to
as
say,
well.
his car crash might have taken a toll on him.
Mhm.
It was a serious car crash. Who
Yeah.
knows?
As we mentioned, Canelo before as well. It's probably one of the more exciting divisions as well as middleweight. You've got Canelo, Triple G, Billy Joe Saunders. What's your opinion on that? I don't really feel like I want to see another Triple G fight just because.
No, boring, boring. I
Yeah,
don't even want to see another Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. But when in regards to Canelo and that, I'd like to see Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders. I
yeah,
think Billy Joe Saunders has the tools to beat him. Everyone writes him off. He's a wicked fighter. He
mhm,
just has to be on his absolute A game. Like he has to be the fittest, and mentally he has to be there. I think he has the tools to beat him. Whether he does or not is a different story.
yeah,
Who only time will tell. But Golovkin, I feel like has been, like he's older than all of them as well. You got to remember.
mhm,
I think he's probably had his time. Not had his time. Like he beats probably every single other fighter in the world. I
yeah.
just don't feel like he beats Canelo ever again. He never did in the first place. It was a
Oh, really?
draw.
That was the question I was going to ask because I feel like when I watched the first one that I had Triple G winning, but
No,
it was
I thought
close.
the thing drawn and lost is right for Golovkin.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. To be fair, this is why I'm asking because you will probably watch it as a more
And no, like I
analytical
said,
viewing of
when
it.
you watch a fight, So I like Canelo, so I'm gonna watch him more than
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch Golovkin in the fight, even though it doesn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
make sense. But that's just how it is.
Yeah, your eyes go to what he's doing, so you focus on
That's
what
right.
he's doing more. Yeah, it does make sense. I do enjoy watching Canelo. I think he's an amazing fighter. I
Yeah.
just thought in that fight, he he just didn't do like enough for me to beat Golovkin. It's that one shot, when he comes around Canelo with the overhand right, and then
Right hand,
Golovkin and he's just walking forward.
yeah.
Um, obviously was a highlight, and then we'll leave the biggest to last. I guess I was going to say best to last, but biggest to last probably. Heavyweight division. Um, Fury Joshua is obviously the main
Fight,
like
yeah.
one and two. And then is there any in the mix that you think could probably push them, like your Whites, your Usyks, Wilder if he comes back?
I think the two fights everyone wants to see right now is White and Deontay Wilder.
Mm,
That would be a big fight. And then Fury Joshua is what everyone's been calling for years.
yeah,
I've always said this. Before, yeah, I've always said that Tyson Fury would beat Joshua. I always said this for years and years and years and years, and everyone's always said, "No way, Joshua's a unit. He's an athlete. He's this. He's that. Look at how good his body's got. Six pack. He's got muscle." I said, "It's not about that."
yeah,
And everyone's always said, "Yeah, he's good, Tyson Fury, but you don't beat Joshua." And then Joshua lost, and Tyson Fury battered Deontay Wilder, and everyone's sort of going on. And I've always said, all my friends, my family, I always said Tyson Fury beats Joshua. However, I think the longer it goes on, it works in the favor of Joshua because Joshua lives a life a bit more. I mean, Tyson Fury's not off the rails now, but he was for a while.
hmm,
The longer it goes on, I think it's in Joshua's favor.
yeah.
Um, Having said, I do feel like Tyson Fury beats him, but it's the fight everyone wants to see, and it's just not happening for some reason.
Apparently, it's agreed for next year, like a two-fight deal, and the
You know what?
split
I've been hearing that for
significantly.
time, but I think it has been, yeah.
Yeah. I, I'm not gonna lie. I want Joshua to win, but I
Oh,
feel like
really?
Fury. Yeah, I want Joshua to win. I've just followed his career a bit more closely, so I feel like I'm more of a fan of him than I am Tyson Fury.
No,
Uh,
I want Tyson Fury to win.
yeah, but I feel like Tyson Fury on current form will win, if that makes
Yeah,
sense, because obviously Joshua just came off the loss and then regained it. But
that's
I
right.
do feel like the thing that probably isn't getting highlighted as much is the adaptability of Joshua, because he does tailor his like fights towards the opponent. Like on the
Yeah,
second
yeah,
Ruiz
no,
fight,
you're right, you're right.
he showed that he could box, and people just thought he was going to go in and try to knock him out. Where he does
That's right.
the
Yeah, I
complete
mean,
opposite.
yeah, you're right, but I just feel like Tyson Fury is just too awkward, and he's
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah,
He's a bigger fighter as well.
yeah,
I don't know. Listen, only time will tell. Hey,
definitely. Yeah, I feel like in my mind the next fight for Joshua shouldn't be the Fury fight. It should be Usyk, because if he goes in and outboxes Usyk,
I think Usyk could beat him. You know, he's not as strong. I mean, listen, it's a
he's not.
tough man, and
Yeah, yeah.
he's
This is what I
like,
have in my mind is if he can outbox Usyk, who's got really like a massive boxing IQ, and then
mm,
if he does get in a sticky situation, he has got the power to probably knock him out. That'll
easy. Yeah.
probably
I just
set him
don't
in.
feel like I don't think he can outbox Usyk. I think he's just he can sort of match him and then knock him out with his power.
Yeah, but even if
He
he
might,
does that, that sets him in really good stead for the Fury fight, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah, definitely.
But again, as like a spectator of the sport and not really clued up on the technicalities of
Mm,
things, so
mm,
I always have to caveat it with that because obviously everyone's got an opinion, but
that's right.
like you said, we're not the ones in there. And then lastly, as you mentioned before, there is a few other up-and-coming fighters out there. Is there any ones that you follow more closely or highlight that maybe the general public aren't aware of?
So there's a few. I mean, to be honest, in the professional game, there's not really any active right now,
Mm-hmm.
which is unfortunate. There's none active. We had Sanjay Sata, but he's not boxing for the time being. We had Vijender Singh from India. He's not boxing either. But there's a few amateurs to keep an eye out for. A couple of young amateurs. Um, like I said, amateur boxing doesn't get the recognition and like sort of it's not out there as much as professional boxing is. But in the professional scene, there's not many, man. There's nobody I can really tell and say that he's active and he's doing well because there isn't really right now who's active.
Yeah,
Um, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
yeah. Is it okay if we finish up with some quick fire questions?
Yeah, got
Yeah. So, what are you most proud of?
as a boxer, as a person,
Maybe an answer for each.
as a boxer, where my career's taken me so far,
Hmm.
you know, I'm proud of that. I must say, I'm not proud as in I'm happy and I'm content, but as in, you know, I'm at a position where I can do something, and that's what I'm proud of. You know, possibilities are kind of limitless. And as a person, I'm not too sure. Bro.
Yeah, no worries. What's your favorite memory of your career so far?
Probably my debut.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, probably my debut. Okay.
What are you most looking forward to?
What's my
What are you most looking forward to?
as a boxer? Yeah.
Is either anything in life?
The possibilities that I have that are presentable, that are like available to me in the coming years. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm excited for. That's what I'm working towards. Like I said, I do see myself fighting for titles, contesting for titles, and that excites me. That's what
Yeah.
keeps me going.
What's your biggest motivation? I think you just answered that really, but
Yeah, like I said, yeah.
yeah. Um, how did you celebrate your first major success? And like as a side to that is, what do you consider your first major success?
Probably my first major success was beating the bar because he was a good fighter. He was like 8-0 when I beat him. And I was a young dog guy. So that was a big major thing for me. I beat Daniel Dubois. He was at Repton, one of the biggest clubs in the world. I beat him. It was in the London finals, I think. London finals, yeah. As an amateur, that was a big thing for me. That was one of my biggest and one of my earliest ones as well. Not biggest, I say my earliest ones.
Yeah.
I was happy, obviously. As any good, I didn't know he would be a world champion or British champion, super heavyweight one day, but I beat a good fighter.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my earliest memories in boxing.
And then how did he celebrate that?
I didn't. I come home and I had a fight the next week because in the amateurs you box like sometimes you box the next day, but that was on the following week, so I couldn't really celebrate and
Yeah.
do too much. I was only 13, 14.
What is your definition of success?
That's a tough question. If you ask me now, I'd probably win a world title. But if you ask me when I win a world title, I'll tell you something else. So for
Yeah.
me right now, it's to win a world title.
And last but not least, because it's the KultureKast podcast, how do you think your culture has affected you so far?
Um, it inspires me. Do you know what I mean? It inspires me to where we come from. to being able to represent my culture, to be able to put my culture forward. You know, wherever I go, regardless of whether I talk about my Sikhi or my being from Punjab, even if I don't mention it, it still speaks for itself from my appearance. You know what I mean? So I'm always carrying my identity with me. That's at the forefront of everything I do, whether intentionally or unintentionally. It's always there. So it inspires me who we come from, where we come from. You know, the struggles and everything. That's what inspires me.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. And again, yeah, thank you for the
No,
opportunity to
thank you,
talk.
bro. Pleasure's all mine, bro. Thank you for this, man.
No,
Taking time out and giving me the opportunity.
no bother, man. I'll leave your Instagram because that's your only social media
That's
below.
social media, yeah.